Welcome to the channel, guys. My name is Brian, and if you're new, thanks for checking me out. Today we're going to do a very special video that some of you have been waiting on for a while. We're going to be talking about my ownership review and experience over the last almost 5 years now with my 2021 Tacoma. So some of my views on this truck have changed. Some of my views on trucks overall have changed with some of my experiences and changes to my lifestyle. So that's going to kind of chime in during the review. But with that said, let's jump in. So almost 5 years ago, I picked up this 2021 brand new. They parked it outside of my office. I took one look at it and I couldn't resist just because of the color. And of course, me being me, I'm very conservative with my money. I crunched the numbers a bunch of times, backwards, up, down, left, right, made sure it worked for me. And it did. I could afford it. You know, some people in life have a hard time spending money on themselves. That's me. But it made sense, and I'm so glad that I did it. And over these last almost 5 years and 54,000 miles, it's been a really good truck. There have been a couple quirks, very small things along the way, a couple of them being really annoying that I'll mention on this review. It's definitely going to be a deeper dive. If you haven't seen my first and second ownership reviews of this truck, I highly suggest you check them out, because then you'll get to enjoy kind of how my views have changed on it over time. And this is going to be the third of a trilogy. So let's start with the exterior. All right, so the exterior, to me, the best part of the truck, and that really has to do with the green. The first time I saw, like I said, that green, I just could not resist. And just about 5 years later, I still find myself just looking back at it. Now, in this video, it's not fresh out of detail, so it's got a light coating of grime on it, which kind of makes it not pop as much, and it's an overcasted day. But in all lighting, this truck, the color is just insane, and I really wish Toyota would bring it back on the 4th generation, because it looks so good on the new generation Tundra. And the green just pairs nicely with bulbous, bubbly, you know, round designs like this, and also the edgy design of the 4th gen. Now remember, this is an ownership review, so it's going to be a little bit more personal to me and my experience with the truck, but I can't talk about the green the whole time. I really love this classic design of the 3rd gen Tacoma. It's just very simple, and I had to get it with these upgraded LED lights. The package was like 600 bucks or something like that, and it came with the upgraded headlights and fog lights. Now, if you haven't watched my last 2 reviews, I upgraded the fog lights to the Baja Designs Squadron Sports. So these are the ones that you cannot use when there's other drivers around. But when I need them and there's nobody around, they're super bright. So let me turn on the lights real quick, because I'm really a little bit of a light guy. I want to show you how amazing the lights are on this 3rd gen. All right, so starting from the side, I mean, some small details I really love, but at nighttime, there's an LED swish that goes like this that just looks so beautiful. Instead of just a boop of LED light like you get on every other vehicle, we get a nice swish, which is really gorgeous at nighttime. And the orange and the black and the green, it's just such a nice combo. But more importantly, this pulsing sequential turn signal, which is just so crazy. It looks so cool. It's blinding when you're unlocking the truck from the front. And there's that super bright LED running light. Of course, we have a separate area here for the high beam, a little teardrop that lights up when the parking lights or headlights are on, which is really cool. Nice and dim. The parking lights are going to be a light, kind of whitish blue depending on the lighting, swish. And then of course, this is not thanks to Toyota, it's thanks to me. I love these Bajas. Really nice upgrade. Now guys, if you're updating your truck with the fog lights, just a word of advice. If you go with something like this that's super bright and blinding, remember, you can't use that with other people around. So if you want to have these on all the time for decoration, go with the SAE version. And I'm not affiliated with Baja. I just love these lights. So if you want to ride them for looks, go with the SAEs, which are DOT approved. If you're going to be using them in the real bad weather and woods, go with the sports. Something else on the exterior that I added on a couple years ago that I really like is the TRD skid plate. That's held up really nice, and I haven't bashed it against anything yet, because with kind of how crazy my life has been, I haven't been really doing much off-roading over the last, I want to say almost 2 years, really. I mean, my first couple years I was really getting into it. I was having so much fun that I didn't really record much of it. But end of 22 into 3. I mean, 23 and 4 were really, really hard years in my life. So the truck has kind of reverted to just a regular daily driver. And I won't get into that, but yeah, the skid plate's cool. Moving on to the side here. It looks great. I mean, at all angles, the truck has been great. I don't think I mentioned the paint. If I did, I'll just edit it. But the paint on this truck is a thin application. It's a water-based, I believe. And Toyota's known, I mean, a lot of the Japanese manufacturers are known for giving you a very thin paint. So it does chip super easy, and it scratches super easy, but it cleans up nice. I have upgraded the tires to the, now this is a couple years ago now, the Wild Peaks by Falcon. These are the AT3Ws. And if you live up in the Northeast, you have to go for the Ice Mountain badge. That means it's the legit stuff. But anyway, yeah, I took these off-roading when I got them. They perform a little bit better than those Goodyears that the truck came with. Just like any off-roading tire, they're gonna wear down a little bit quicker than a road-based tire, like something you get on the Sport. These I did a lot of research on because I didn't want something that was gonna be super loud. They're a little bit louder than the ones that were stock. The weight is very close. I do a lot of research to try to keep things reliable. You know, and if you watch my other 2 reviews, you already know this about me. I don't like to do super heavy mods. I opted out of lifting it. I like to keep it pretty stock. I'm like an OEM plus guy. So it's been a great ride keeping it that way, and it's been super reliable. Of course, the mud flaps are a must because look at all the junk that it stops. That just prevents the stuff from spraying all over the truck when you're driving in the mud and the dirt. These are the Tigers that I added right away. Love these. The only thing I don't like about them, and remember, this is not anything to do with Toyota, but they rust really easily. So every year I got to grind these down in certain spots where the rocks hit them. And I got to put some cardboard here and spray the Rust-Oleum after washing them. But other than that, I mean, the corrosion resistance could be better on these, but they look super cool. And being a US-made, Texas-made Tacoma, I had to go with the ones that had the Texas stars because it kind of speaks real nicely to the outgoing US-made Tacomas, which is really cool. And for the 3rd gen, you always got the color-matching Smart Key door handles for the off-roads. Something interesting, the 4th generation is going to have the non-colored ones, but this kind of gives it a uniform look. I really do like the Smart Key. Makes things really easy. We're going to go into the interior after we do the engine and powertrain. But the nice big mirrors, they have been a pleasure. They push in really easily. My passenger one has a couple of scratches from bushes and stuff. And with this green paint, it is like a chalkboard, so it's going to pretty much sew everything. One of the pains, speaking of the exterior, was having to avoid the automatic car wash, because if you bring a dark color like this through the automatic car wash, no matter how nice the car wash is, it's going to swirl you all up. And then if you have the eye for it, and you see all the swirls in the clear coat, you're never going to ever be able to not see that, and it's going to ruin your life unless you're able to get over that. I have a scratch over here from one of the first times I went off-roading from a tree branch. Used to bother me, doesn't bother me anymore. No big deal, I've learned to let go. Moving on to the back here. The color matching bumper corners were nice. I really wanted to get those because when they were making this truck, they were doing the chrome bumper corners. The blind spot monitor, no, I'm sorry, the parking sensors here, if I want to get real close, I want to show you. After almost 5 years, the dark black coating is starting to wear away, and it's starting to show its insides. Let's check the other one. Yeah, so same. Now this is not a big deal to me, but I just want to point it out. So that's some wear and tear there. I haven't really done any towing or hauling. I've loaded this up with, you know, things for day trips or weekend trips, or, you know, when we went to Tennessee a few times. But other than that, I'm just throwing stuff to be out in the woods. I got the fold-up table, stuff that gets dirty easy, I can hose it down. Let me show you inside real quick. So nothing really much going on right now. I don't know if we went over this in the last review, but I added these on. But yeah, I just got my folding table, some stuff for other activities. This was because I was supposed to do the AC cleaning, but I wound up not doing it, so I'm going to do it next season. the inverter, which I've used, well, my fiance has used to play her electric bass guitar, which is really cool. The storage over here is kind of useless because it gets all kinds of water from the road right up in there. So I don't know. I got some stuff in there, but that doesn't really get touched because that gets water in there. But overall, the composite bed is great. Super strong material. The bed mat, one of my favorite things. I talked about this in the last review. This was one of my first upgrades. Love this because your stuff doesn't slide around as much. Now the kayaks, since it's a 5-foot bed, they kind of hang out really far, so you got to get the flag and everything like that. But since we got the bed open, we're going to talk about one of my first quirks that really bothered me. The dampener here for the tailgate failed about 2 years ago. And my tailgate, by the way, this is a tailgate defender because the 3rd gen does not lock electronically. And if you don't want to buy and put in the electronic accessory for $100 to $200, whatever they're charging now, you can just get this little bad boy, and it makes it way harder to steal the tailgate. If you don't have this and you don't have the electronic mechanism, somebody could steal this tailgate in probably about 20 seconds, maybe 10, and sell it for at least $1,000 depending on the color. So keep that in mind. But yeah, so the dampening system failed. The tailgate came slamming down. I got a fancy dent over here that bothered me really badly, and I had to bring that to a body shop to get that fixed. So I went online and found out that's a really common thing with the 3rd gen. So if you own a 3rd gen or you're shopping for a 3rd gen, keep that in mind. What I think may have happened, I will admit I'm kind of rambling, but what I think might have happened was user error, because I do remember on 2 occasions, yeah, I'll admit where I'm wrong. I do remember on 2 occasions where I had some totes when I was moving, because I actually moved a couple times in 23 and 24. I had some totes or boxes or whatever that were hanging just over the edge here. They were just poking out like this, and I went and I closed and pushed the boxes with the tailgate. And I think what happened was, from doing that, it probably created that little crack in the soft plastic dampener, and one day it just ripped and made the tailgate slam down. So if you ever have the habit of using the tailgate to push stuff in, be aware this really weak dampener may break and you may have a headache and be on your way to the body shop like me. Since I don't do any towing or hauling yet, I added this really cool item by Diode Dynamics, also not affiliated with them. But this is a red running light with a white reverse light, and I don't like the strobing brake stuff. I think it's a little obnoxious personally. But of course I locked it in because this thing was not cheap. I also upgraded the reverse bulb. Let me get close so you can see. That was also by Diode. These were a little more expensive than I wanted them to be, but in the end they're worth it because they haven't given me any issues. Sometimes doing LED lights can really screw up the electronics and make things work weird and even blow fuses. These have a I don't know, there's something about them, some feature where they don't mess up your electronic system. So let me turn those on real quick to show you how cool that is. All right, so here is the running light, which gets a little bit more attention, kind of helps with these tiny taillights, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes. Holy cow, they're so bright. And the reason I really did this accessory was, well, upgrade, was because I was parking in a carport that was super dark, and the factory reverse lights really were failing me, and these are a whole different ball game. I can see wherever I go. All right, so like I said, I would talk about the taillights. These taillights in my last review, I mentioned the Altezza design here. It kind of grew on me because it plays nicely with the silver and gray decal that you would get with the 21s. Then they moved on to red, which gave it like a Christmassy look with the green. But a lot of people, what they do is they like to modify everything on the truck. And like I told you, I'm more of an OEM plus guy. So on the taillight at night, these are really small. Like when you're far away, and I know this because I've let my fiance drive the truck sometimes. It's a tiny little turn signal and it's a tiny little taillight, and they're not that bright. And yes, I know there's upgrades, but just the size, like it's literally the size of my hand. You know, and when you're far away from people, that little turn signal is half of it, and then the brake is another half, and it's just like, I don't know, it's a little small. So that's something that, like, I totally get why the taillights are huge on some of these more modern trucks. They're like from top to bottom, and it's all red light with a tiny little reverse light. But you know, this kind of shows its age because we're going back. Now, I'm gonna stay on this side just because of the lighting. Another thing that started happening with the Tacoma, now it's happening on both sides, is the curling rear fender liner. So this is supposed to be back like this. And over the last few months, it started to do that. Let me show you the other side real quick. So on this side, I think this was, this was the first one to do it. I mean, look how bad that is. That's supposed to be like this. Ready? I'm gonna let go. That sucks. So now we're risking, if it starts curling more, flinging all this wonderful stuff like salt inside of there, which we do not want salt in there, guys. So on my next oil change coming up soon, I'm gonna ask if they can heat gun, push it back. I don't wanna resort to zip ties yet, but super not cool and common with the 3rd gen. So not a lot of people notice that. And since we're down here, another thing that went wrong that is very common on the internet, I don't wanna be one of those internet guys, but the internet really does help you find information, is that where the composite bed sits on the frame, it wears down back here and you start to get bed rattle. So I heard a lot of rattling and I was freaking out thinking my fishing stuff was flying around, and my fiance was like, all right, let's stop and check it out. I went crazy. So after days and days and days of searching, this is something that's been happening since the 2nd generation, since they're pretty much the same frame and bed. And this composite starts to wear down, and we had to go to Home Depot and get a rubber piece here that's all squished up like a flower, and basically get a, I think it's a T5 or T15 or something like that, and go inside the bed. It's one of these. It's that one. That's all the way back there, and we had to loosen it up, lift up the bed, put the little thing in, close it, boom, boom, boom. And the sucky part is there have been a lot of people that talked about the bed rattle, and they reported online that the Toyota dealerships were having a hard time replicating the problem and solving it for them. So yeah, that can be a massive headache. So I hope just that alone, just want to take advantage of the sunlight here on the green. Look at that green. So yeah, I hope that alone can help somebody out there with a Tacoma who's got the bed rattle. If you got that bed rattle, go right to the bed and look at where the bed is bouncing against the frame. That has been updated in the 4th generation because they're using the aluminum supports that you also get with the Tundra. Here's that famous army green paint in indirect light, since the sun is on that side. It's really cool because at nighttime the truck looks black, and when people's headlights hit it, it will show the green just a little bit. Now watch when I come over to the sunny side. See, you can tell I love this green, right guys? Ready? Look at that. And that's with dirt on it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look at that with the black windows, come on. Look at those headlights with the black. Just take a second, guys. That is such a cool color. Toyota, bring it back. Yeah. I like the big old emblem with the radar sensor in it, just gives it such a classic look. Everybody goes with that Heritage grille. I'm the black sheep here. I actually do not like the Heritage grille at all. I think that the TRD Off-road and Sport grille with that big oversized emblem look amazing. It just fits perfectly, and plus, small details. If you were to get the truck that did not have the LED light package, you had more of a bulbous lens here to try and not catch the heat from the incandescent bulbs. So those would also stick out like a nose. And then if you went to the Heritage grille, that stuck out like a torpedo, and the truck just had a very carrot-shaped face, which I did not like at all. It looked like a torpedo. And this flat, bricky, sharp, angular design on this truck, I wanted to maintain that because we have flat cuts here, flat cuts here. I like the flatness. It really gives it that nice square look. Wow. All right, let's move on. So the bed cover, I put that on a few years ago, made by Tiger. I'm not affiliated with any brand actually. I will say, even though I'm slightly let down by how easy these rust and how much you really got to keep up with them, this thing has been a champ. The Tiger bed cover. I might have said bed mat. This thing looks like dookie after a couple years, big deal, but this keeps out most of the water. If you do high pressure at the car wash, yes, it will get in. I mentioned that. They knew exactly where you needed to put foam pieces, so they provided them over here in these gaps. They give you the foam that you can put in so that you don't get light and water, and really good. And I've taken it out a few times. Sorry for the bounciness. I've taken it out a few times. I put it back in, lines up very easily, and it's very easy to use. So I would say, guys, you don't have to spend $1 million on a tonneau cover. The soft trifold, simple, really works great. I think that's enough about the exterior. I don't know if I'm forgetting anything, but overall, yeah, I think the exterior is still great. It's starting to slightly show its age, but when you get it in a cool color like this, it's rock and roll. Let's pop the hood and talk about the engine and powertrain and what I think about it. It's a very controversial topic after almost 5 years. Here we go, the 2GR FKS. The tried and true 3.5 liter V6 that's been in the Avalon, V6 Camry, Sienna vans, Tacoma, and more. People talked about how it, when mated to the Tacoma's 6-speed transmission, is very shifty and quirky. It is, but just take a look at how simple the design is. Big old hoses, beautiful clamps. Those clamps are the way to go. Those clamps are super easy. You get a little clamp removal tool. You can fix things as the miles go down. Brake system, super easy to get to. Yeah, wipe it down once in a while. That's why it looks decent. Take a microfiber and wipe it down here and there. Big jug for the washer fluid. Everything is simple to see, simple to measure, easy to get to, simple. Now, the shiftiness, yeah, super shifty. And like I mentioned in the last ownership review, one, I am not the type to get a pedal commander, power commander, whatever you call that thing. I don't want to be messing with the computer. I don't want to be messing with what it's already designed to do. It's supposed to learn the way you drive and adjust to it, which mine started to do. But I feel like because I do a lot of all three types of driving, I do the windy back mountain roads, I do the highway, and I do city stuff. This truck probably had a hard time learning what it's expecting me to, or what I'm expecting it to do. So it's still awkward. And what happens basically is when you push the pedal down, you push the throttle down, you expect the truck to downshift right away and bring your RPMs up and launch. But what this truck does, which is not nearly as bad as the 16s and 17s, those were a major problem, but what these ones do is you push the pedal down, it hesitates, so it goes whoa, and then it finally figures it out, it downshifts, and it goes. Now, if it doesn't hesitate and do that weird thing, which can really kind of be annoying, the other annoying thing it does when you push the pedal down is it will actually upshift instead of downshift and drop the RPMs, and basically feels like it's dying down on you, which is the complete opposite of what you want this thing to do when you're pushing the pedal down. So if you were to compare this to a fourth generation, the fourth generation Tacoma totally answered that and made it way better, but this is a review about the third gen. So yeah, it still gets a little annoying on a day-to-day basis, but it's just not quite annoying enough to make me hate it. It's quirky, and I've coined this truck the lazy V6. I like the roaring power when you're really jamming the pedal. I like how it's going to last forever. It's not a perfect engine. There's no perfect engine exists. But I like the way it sounds when you start it up on a cold morning. I like the reliability. It's been great to me. But it does get really annoying how it really I've been with it for so long. It's kind of annoying. It's very shifty. It's gear hunting all the time, and I'm not going to plug something into the computer. I shouldn't have to spend extra money to buy some computer training device that could possibly void my warranty, cause additional wear and tear, stuff I'm not going to realize. I'm not going to mess with that. I want it to drive smooth out of the box, and that's coming from a guy who is an OEM type of guy. If you're a modifier guy, which is, I want to say, at least half of the Tacoma world, then good. You're going to go plug stuff into it, not me. So Yeah, take that for what you will. If you're not going to drive the truck, I almost said park. If you're going to park the truck and not drive it for a while, you want to lift this up and maybe spray some peppermint oil in there because you don't want any mice to go in there. That's the place where they go, is right under here. But other than that, it's good. Now for fuel economy, I would say in the wintertime, it's not good. I mean, I use the remote starter, but in the wintertime, I'm going down to 15, 16, 17. In the summertime, obviously no remote starter, but use the AC. I'm going up to probably around 20. If it's any time between fall, summer, and spring, and I'm taking a longer drive, I've pulled 24 to 26 out of this. I think I got 27 once. But my average, which is the most important thing, is around 20 in the summer and around 16 in the winter. So not super efficient, but you know, when you trade up efficiency for reliability, Toyota is the quintessential example of trading up efficiency for reliability. Well, at least in their history. We're starting to move on from that. But yeah, day-to-day dynamics, it will do that thing where the engine will downshift when you're going down a hill and braking, and it'll go woo, and the revs will help you slow down a little bit. I think that's cool. The 4x4 system works great. I promised some off-roading videos a couple years ago, but like I said, I was challenged to go through some tribulations and trials, really hard stuff in life, so I was not able to film any of that stuff because by the time I was kind of getting ready to do it, that's when life kind of started getting crazy. But yeah, off-roading, this thing is an absolute beast. The crawl control, great system, works really well. Multi-terrain select, that's neat. I would say I don't really turn to the crawl control, but it's cool to have it. The locking rear differential, never needed it. But with the factory and some slightly upgraded tires and the 4x4 system, this thing goes wherever you want it. And being the off-road with the Bilstein suspension, it handles the bumps really well. It's more of like a cushy, floaty, soft, boaty kind of thing, like you're in the water sometimes. Whereas a sport, you're gonna feel very nice and firm, which I'm really starting to appreciate what the sport is. But yeah, I would say it's a pleasure to drive. It's a very classic trucky feel. And I just want to show you how the frame has held up over the years. Let's get inside real quick. Now I do fluid film it every November. So here's what we're working with. Now when you fluid film or do any type of coating, you want to try to avoid rubber hoses and stuff because certain oils can make the rubber hoses expand. Do your research. I never recommend doing a rubberized coating, but here's my frame. All you got to do is rinse that salt off. When it's salty, give it a quick rinse. It's held up really well. Leaf springs, they're hard to keep clean. They were the first to start showing their rust. Going to the back over here. Sorry about that, audio cut out. Now this is a C-channel frame, so it's a little bit more vulnerable to the corrosion element of life with a truck. Of course, the fourth generation has evolved into the boxed frame. Let's just take a peek under here. So yeah, that's 5 years. Almost 55,000 miles of northeastern driving, doing some fluid film application for an hour in November, and throughout the winter giving it a gentle wash underneath to rinse out the salt. And I would say it holds up very well. Let's jump inside the truck finally and talk about what it's like being in there on a day-to-day basis, some of the things I like, and some of the things that I wish were different. Let's start with the back. So I don't often have people in the back, and a couple times a year I will. It's usually me and myself and my fiance, but sometimes we'll throw people back here, and generally they say they're okay. But you know, taking some drives that were 2, 5, and 10 hours was my longest. After the 5-hour mark, the rear passengers always get uncomfortable, and I would really like to say they've probably been holding their tongue or biting their tongue for at least 2 hours from that. So after a couple hours, you're not going to be super comfortable in the Tacoma because there's not a ton of space and it's a very upright seating position, and you don't have ventilation in the back over here to give you heat and air conditioner when it's hot. Now, of course, you have the vent down below, which will give you some cool air in the summer where you really want cool air up on your torso. But in the wintertime, people are usually pretty cool about it. They're happy because the heat comes down and it rises up and it keeps your toes warm. Like I mentioned in the last review, I did upgrade to the WeatherTech. Also not affiliated with them, but very happy with it. Even though the factory Toyota mats are very good, they are super soft and they start to get a little softer over the years. These, they're beautiful and they really go to the very end, and they have these nice tall walls to keep the water in. They don't have those ingenious channels of the Toyota mats, which I really love the channels because it stops the water from sloshing and flying around and drifting and seeping. But these just cover more area and they look a little bit more professional, which I like. I did have to add these on a long time ago. Love these. On the 4th generation, they're not as nice as these. They only come out to about here. These wrap around completely and really help to protect that vulnerable edge, which is the worst spot. I don't know why Toyota decided to do these tiny little plastic ones on the new gen. You want to get these long waterfall, really covering up a lot of area. That's going to protect you from that vulnerable spot. Now the materials, that's a big topic and point of contention for some people with trucks. It's always going to be hard plastics. It's always not going to be luxury unless you're buying a very expensive, top of the line truck. I'd say decent storage. Never really had to put a lot back here. People don't often bring much. So, you can make it an excuse to store a bunch of crap, but I don't. The seats, just like brand new. Storage in the back. It's really good. It's definitely better than the new gen. I really like the hard plastic that you get in the back over here. If you watch my first review, I had these seats folded down all the way and it shows you how that works. But basically the cushion lifts up and this comes down and you can put the headrest over here and it's flat and you get the nice hard plastic, which is really cool. But you want to put some emergency stuff over here, some convenience items. I also really like, which was taken away for the 4th generation, how you can hide the belt buckles, or you can lift this up and you can even put them underneath, which when we get to the other side, I'll lift up one of the cushions to show you. But and I'll just mention these real quick because I like to keep people safe. Get you some windshield poppers, keep them in a convenient spot because God forbid, it's good to have one when you need it. And I recommend you get 2 because you want your passenger to be able to get out at the same time as you. But yeah, so for the back, I'd say it's decent. Where I like this one more than the new gen, see now I'm starting to mention the 4th generation because I know a lot of you 3rd gen guys are curious about the 4th gen. I know there's a lot of negativity about the 4th gen. I'm not going to go into 3 versus 4, but I'll touch lightly. The space in the 4th gen is a little bit less, yes. The C-pillar is a little bit wider, yes. We're going to go into the next topic, which mentions the C-pillar in a moment. That's safety. But this is a literal couch, and the cushions here are absolutely amazing, and I can curl up at 5'9", 5'10" on a good day, depending on, what I'm wearing and how tall I'm standing. I can curl up, roll up my hoodie like a pillow, and I can knock out if the weather's not too hot or too cold. Super, super, super comfortable as a couch if you're not a super tall guy. The new generation are more bucket seat style, and they're a little more firm. I mean, look at this. This is soft. This is so comfortable. These seats are more comfortable than the front seats. I love the back seats to lay down, but that's not why you buy a truck. But just something to keep in mind. If you do have to sleep on the road often and you don't like to put the seat down, this is a couch if you're not a huge person. All right, let's jump on the other side. All right, so like I said I would do, let's move the hoodie, the gogs, the Bible, and up she goes. Now these little holes are for the prongs, so you can take the headrest out and put it in there, and then you fold this down, which by the way, I mentioned in the last owner's review that I expected they would take the bad position of this hook and put it here so you don't got to break your arm or hurt your shoulder. But if you have a bad right shoulder, I wish you luck because you have to reach all the way over here, lift it up to the sky, and down it goes. There we go, some random stuff. Headlights, seat cover for service, trauma kit when we're at the range, fishing hat, must have a fishing hat, spare gym hat, shovel, tire inflator, battery tender or battery jump box, everything. But like I mentioned, look at this. You can put the buckles away, you can fold the seat down, and you have a couch without buckles going into you, which is really cool. or you can strap it up over here, or you can put it in the kangaroo pocket. You got lots of options. Really interesting for storing your buckles, but this thing scratches super easily. Nobody's gonna care about that. Boom, there we go. Decent storage. Now, since on the 4th gen, you're gonna lose some storage back here, you're gonna get more storage down here, but on the Tacoma, this is okay. Just the typical stuff. I like to keep ratchets in my truck so that they don't get all nasty and rusty from moisture and that they'll work on the day I need them. Down it goes. Simple. Oh, and for my musicians, you already know. Always keep your practice pad. 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 Let's touch the passenger side real quick, which is very important to a lot of people who ride with a co-pilot. And then we're going to touch on a big topic, safety. I almost forgot. This is what reminded me. So let's hop in. Yeah, you feel tucked in. You feel like you're in a truck. You feel like you're in a little bit of a tank. Very truck style interior. You know, it's not a review as if you're going to buy this thing, but we've been happy with it. My fiance says that she really likes it. It's really easy for her. Thank you for always doing this, baby. Leaning over and grabbing the door for me. We've taken the 4th gen out, which for some reason she has a little bit of a harder time. A little bit more space. Everything's down a little bit lower so we can connect and hold hands. If you really have that ride or die with you, the 4th gen, you're going to have a big, oh crap handle, a purse hook. This is going to be a little higher up. And for some reason, it's a little bit wider, so you might feel a little bit more separated. Definitely more of a cockpit style on the 4th. But on the 3rd, I mean, look at it. We have that traditional Toyota truck interior. That's as traditional as it gets. Almost starting to get a little antiquated. Simple. Now we're going to talk about a big thing. We're going to talk about safety, which, you know, is a driving factor in a lot of people's ownership choices and experiences. So I was a passenger in a car as a child at the age of 6 in an accident, and it made me very aware of car safety. And I was afraid to drive in cars actually for a while. Sorry, I heard an animal, just didn't want to make sure I was about to get eaten. So yeah, anyway. So safety has always been a big thing for me. And some of you wonder why this big handle became a teeny little rock climbing ledge on the 4th gen. And I found out the reason why. So the IIHS, which is a third-party safety studying entity, they crash vehicles of all different makes, models, and years, and they've been doing it for decades, and they study them inside and out. And it's a great thing for consumers because it gives you the option to not only look at the federal safety ratings, but to also look at the third party, which helps keep everything in check. So this thing, if you installed one of these over here, just remember, because I see Tacoma people mentioning it, that has not been studied. This has. When you are a passenger in a 3rd gen Tacoma and you get into a front collision, a front overlap, and I think one other type of collision, your head will naturally do this. It'll go down as you go forward. Well, when your head goes down, guess where it goes down into? Boom. And the back of the dummy's head actually has hit this. Now, the back of your head is the weakest point of your skull. That's not where you want your precious co-pilot's skull to be hitting. The back of their skull against this big, hard, look at that, heavy, heavy, heavy handle with the back of their head at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 miles per hour. So this, when you all are complaining about the 4th gen having a tiny little handle, watch that little 30-second clip 5 times over so you can protect your passengers. And number 2, the C-pillar. So I love the visibility in this truck because the windows are gigantic. You can see out of the world, you can see out into the world. They're huge. Yes, there is a blind spot here, which I will address in a moment. But that C-pillar is the perfect, it's the perfect size, and I'll show you real quick. because when I'm looking out of it as a driver, just pretend it's a mirror image. When I'm looking out of it, I can see all around me here. So that little sliver is actually a lot bigger in real life. I can see a lot of information and data here, here, and here. On the 4th gen, those headrests are so gigantic and this window is so much smaller that that little sliver that we need goes away, and I have to look from here to figure out what the hell is going on. Now, the C-pillar. Yes, it's a little smaller and it's a lot bigger in the 4th gen. In fact, it covers up almost a quarter of the window here. That C-pillar is adding to the safety of the 4th gen. So let me get on this side so you can enjoy the beautiful green while we talk about the safety of the 3rd gen real quick. The IIHS has done a updated side study, which has really pulled the rug on some of the cars out there. And the 3rd gen Tacoma is one of those vehicles that the rug was pulled up from underneath. It was rated poor. So when you are T-boned in a Tacoma, you have the risk of the safety cage not performing the way you expected it to. So not that I'm bashing the 3rd generation, you know, not that I want Toyota to never invite me to the Toyota press things. I'm just a real consumer of this machine. So this is from a consumer's point of view. I own this machine, I operate this machine, I want it to perform, and I study the safety. These vehicles do not crash very well on a side impact crash like we thought. The 4th generation does. The 4th generation gets an A+, this gets an F. So that's something to think about, especially if you have people with you, if you really care about yourself, or especially if you have little children in the back and you're going through a lot of intersections with traffic lights where you're going through a 4x4. But I don't want to harp on that, but that's a really big thing that I've learned and I keep on my mind. All right, let's continue. The driver's seat, now that my safety rant is over. Look how nice this looks. Traditional, timeless, classic Toyota. No frills, no gimmicks, no electronic tailgate, just a simple truck. Actually, hold up. Let's just check out the weather techs here. See how high up they go? Okay, here she is. You probably didn't hear that because of my microphone, but that V6 just sounds so good. The dual zone, love it, use it. It's a great thing. Yes, I've said before it's not a big deal, but it is nice to have. The old school system that we've been using for a while works good. It's a little slow. It's gotten a little bit slower to react over the years. You know, it takes almost a solid 2 seconds now to react to what you're doing. It's fine. I've had luck with it. This thing I love, that's a cool accessory. Not affiliated, but very happy with it. Super strong, definitely worth the 80 bucks I spent on it. If you guys want to hit me up, I'll promote your stuff because I love what you do. The push starter button, I can see it through here, but a lot of people say they have to lean over to look at it. I like having the push starter. This is super easy to use. The 4x4 engages very nicely. Let's get some AC on us. Also really like the auto dimming rear view mirror so that when this is open up, it still keeps things nice and dark. I don't use the sliding 3rd window or 5th window, whatever you call it, as much as I thought I would. I also don't use these as much as I thought I would, but they're really nice to have. Never needed that, but you know, some people really do need it. It's kind of funny how your mind changes. I said so many times how much I prefer the incandescent because it's easier on the eyes, but I am finally starting to appreciate the LEDs. Now, the seating position in this truck compared to the 4th gen, I would say is okay, but with the way they put everything together in the 4th gen, these lights, when you put them on, they're not as in your face at night. They kind of are here and they point down. And it's also really nice to have that pilot light on the 4th generation. However, this doesn't have a super convoluted multi-information display. This thing is basically never going to give you any issues. Everything is super easy, super simple. It's a very analog style speedo, and like I mentioned in my last two reviews, I really do like how these light up a nice blue. Let me see if I can get the blue for you. There it is. I really like that blue at nighttime on the gauges and the buttons. The blue is just so cool. Since we're looking at the gauges, I'm going to talk about another quirk that made me really unhappy, but wasn't super, I mean, it wasn't a very big deal. This lens, one, it's super soft and scratches very easy, and I scratched it up the first day I brought it home because I was dusting it off with my sleeve. But two, it's actually known, I didn't know this until it happened, it's very common for the third generation Tacoma for it to develop stress cracks on the top and bottom. And I don't have them because I had to replace this. But all of a sudden it started cracking here and here and here and here and here out of nowhere, and I really take care of this truck. The worst I've done was, zip down a trail and really go hard on an off-roading trail a couple times, but not like I'm not banging frame. This thing just started cracking like crazy out of nowhere, so I bought another lens. And you basically, you got to take off any accessories. You pull this thing out gently without cracking it. You pull this thing out, you undo a couple screws, and you have to unscrew the back of the gauges, put the thing on, and try not to get dust. But let me tell you something, dust is going to go in there anyway, because once I put it back together, you probably can't see it, but there's already dust in there. You're not going to be able to do anything. But I really do appreciate the simple, analog, easy to read style. Just like a nice, easy watch. You look at it once, you know what it is, it's done. You look at it, you can see what it's doing, you're done. You don't have to figure it all out like you start to see in a lot of these new generation vehicles. I do like, we're getting a little technical, guys, but remember, it's an ownership review. I do like how I can put on the fog lights and put on the parking lights and keep the fog lights off. On the 4th generation truck, if you choose to do parking lights, it forces the fogs on. You cannot do just parking lights while the vehicle's on. So your lighting options are completely free with this, but they've gone more safety with the new generation Tacoma. The buttons are still very easy to use and figure out. Now, Toyota Safety Sense, automatic high beams. So when I'm in auto or here, if I have the automatic high beams active, I have to push this forward to activate them and get the little A. Now here's the thing, if these high beams are not coming on when I want them to, I have to look around and distract myself from the road. I have to look around and find this button and push it to get my high beams on the second I needed them. The only other way to do it is literally hold this, which can alter my steering ability and handling. So one thing I do like that they updated with the current generation, the 4th gen, is you can be in auto, turn on the auto high beams, and you can bypass it by doing this, as opposed to having to do this to activate them and having nothing to bypass. So that's just a small thing, but if you like to use the auto high beams, can get super distracting and almost dangerous if you find yourself needing to bypass once in a while in those awkward times where the safety sense doesn't think you need high beams, but you really think you need them. Small detail, but it could be a big deal for somebody, so I just wanted to share that with you. You are not alone. The handbrake, I could take it or leave it. I think the automatic applying parking brakes that the new Toyotas get are nice. I do like all the space. The shifter's fine. Some people have complained about the shape of this. I think it's fine. I really do like the shifter on the new ones because it really fits your hand perfectly and it goes straight down. This you gotta go over and down. Not a big deal. I like how it's easy to do a bulb check. That's very easy to do. However, on the 4th generation, every time you start the vehicle, it does a bulb check for you. So that actually might be a little bit better than this system. The parking sensors for the tech package, they could work a little better. I would say they're a little slow. I mean, I usually back up. I don't back up that fast, and these things they start sensing by the time I'm already done parking. So I don't know, they're not as helpful as I thought they would be. They've only helped me out on a couple occasions. The wireless charging I barely use, one, because I don't have a glasses case up here, thanks off-road, and two, because it charges super slow, so it's not a big deal. And let's try again. Varsity. So yeah, I don't know. It charges slow, but the charge lasts long. You got to use the plug-in CarPlay with the 3rd gen. I would probably use the plug-in CarPlay with a 4th gen anyway, because I noticed the audio quality is a little bit better when you're tethered. Most people won't notice that. I do. And without the JBL sound system, I kind of like the sound system a little less in the last couple of years. So being exposed to a lot of nicer vehicles and more modern vehicles and seeing the JBL a lot more common with Toyota, I actually think that this sound system is just okay. It's just okay. Yes, you can change the equalizer, but I like to listen to a lot of music. I'm a very musical person, and I've always been a very musical person. And I think on my next vehicle, whenever that may happen, I think I might splurge to get some JBL. Yes, I know you can modify, and I'm not like that. I just like to get equipment and use it. All my modifying days are done. But yeah, the speakers that come in the doors, they're all right, even after you tune them. The vents, they work good. I like being able to close these very easily, and you can get a little bit more force here. And then something I haven't used recently until this year is the auto AC. So I really like that because you can just set it to auto, and when you change the temperature, it adjusts everything for you, and it knows exactly what to do. So that's really nice. I really like that. Just makes life a lot easier. The glove box, I'm very happy with the space. I opted for the shelf organizer, which is a really nice add-on you can do. So yeah, no complaints there. If you have something resting on the door lightweight and it's in the right spot, this might not close all the way and it might come down on you. But the locking mechanism is neat. This only keeps honest people out. Speaking of which, this keeps everybody out. This is a nice add-on that I added a while ago. So whatever you decide to put in here will be super safe, no matter where you park the truck. Really good add-on. Now back down to the floor over here, which some people may have never expected me to mention. The third generation Tacoma has a common issue that I experienced and thought my truck was broken, but found out through doing a lot of research that 1, it is common, 2, it shouldn't happen, and 3, Toyota's been made aware of it and they've just decided it's the way the truck functions. So if you can get used to the way this thing happens and not mind it, Toyota says that's the way it operates. And what I'm talking about is this. The air conditioner drips inside the cabin on the passenger side. And there's 2 conditions that have to be met for that to happen. 1, you have to be driving for at least an hour. It usually happens at the 1.5 to 2 hour mark. And 2, it only happens when you're making a left turn. So what happens is the condenser, which is inside, will actually condensate some of the moist air inside the cabin. It will develop water around it, and it will start to drip. Now, because of the shape of it and where it is, if you hit a right turn, it doesn't drip into the cabin, but when you're hitting a left turn, it draws the water to the right, and your foot will get peed on by some cold water. So we've had that happen multiple times after coming back from the beach, because the Jersey Shore is about 2 hours away, and usually at that hour to an hour and a half mark, when I'm making some of my left turns, it'll start to pee on my fiance's feet. She doesn't like that, and it's a really big annoying problem, and I've done hours and hours and hours of research, and I have found that it is common. Toyota knows about it, and they have stated that that's the way it's supposed to work. Now, being somebody who does not like the risk of mold, it really does bother me, so I don't know what I'm doing about that yet. Some people online have said that they have edited, or not edited, but have modified the AC system and added a duct or a little draining thing, and I'm not doing all of that because then I could risk voiding the warranty, and I'm not doing that. It should not be dripping inside the interior. So for third generation owners or people shopping for them, third generation owners, let me know if that ever happened to you. And if you're shopping for one of these, just be aware that if that happens to you, likely Toyota will say that 1, they can't replicate it, or 2, that they replicated it, but it's functioning as normal. So that's a huge, huge gripe of mine, and I could not help but mention it. I thought about not mentioning it because, if Toyota watches this video, then they're going to not like me because I'm talking about bad things. But remember, this is a consumer video. I'm talking about my experience consuming this machine and using this machine as a consumer, and I'm not happy with how it does that. Now, has it developed mold? No. Will it? Probably not, but there's that risk. Now, thanks to the WeatherTech mats, they go all the way up. Sorry for the lighting. The dripping starts about here, and it goes down. So if you have the factory mats, it may hit the carpet and start seeping in underneath the factory mat, which could cause mold, which you do not want to be exposed to mold, guys. But with the WeatherTech mats, it's hitting this. It's going whoop, and it's draining down like a little waterfall like that. And if my girl's feet are up here chilling, it's dripping all over her feet. Nobody likes that stuff, especially when you didn't plan on it. All right, let's continue. Overall ergonomics for day-to-day use, good. Cup holders work. Each and every one works. My fiance got the RAV4, which we'll talk about in a different video. And the RAV4 cup holders that sit over here do not work with these, and it sucks. Look how easy this is. I can stick it everywhere. Everything fits. They knew what was coming. Ramblers, scramblers, whatever you use. It works really nice, so I am happy with that. So yeah, overall, good. The leather on the steering wheel has broken in, it's become soft. It has absorbed all the oils out of my hands over the years. And you know, I wipe it down from time to time, but this nice soft leather just feels so smooth. That's really nice. The dashboard is super scratchable. I used to keep my binoculars on the dash, but from them sliding a little bit, it smudged a couple spots. And now that I have a clearish film here to protect me from the sun, I don't want them tapping it and messing with the film. I'm not going to talk about tints, but yeah, I really like the black upholstery on the top. That gives it a nice sporty modern look, and it creates a nice contrast for the windows. Let's get ready to summarize. So there you have it. We talked about some of the good, some of the bad, some of the amazing, and some of the really annoying things about my third generation Tacoma after 5 years and almost 55,000 miles. We started with the exterior, then the engine and powertrain, went inside the truck, and basically worked our way out. I would say if you're tossed up between in the third and fourth generation, really keep safety in mind. I think the fourth generation is superior in many ways. I do think that where the third generation wins is its simplicity. It's tried and true, it's known. However, if you drive in busy areas with a lot of intersections and want the most modern safety, this truck does not compete at all. And the old school leaf spring suspension is going to feel old school. Some people may like that, some people may not. And it just depends on what type of truck you want. Now, there's no perfect truck. There are people that claim that the third generation is the best thing. There's people still claiming that the second generation is the best thing. Well, I'd like to have you say that after you crash one of these in a T-bone crash. And then look at a fourth generation Tacoma crash theirs in a T-bone crash. However, the same argument can be said about simplicity. The new truck has a turbo, it has a lot of electronics, it has a lot of modern safety tech. There's a lot more luxury and safety tech failure points to possibly go wrong. Really cool fact, the fourth generation has defrosting wires on the wide-angle Safety Sense 3.0 camera, but the typical third generation owner might not even care about a Safety Sense camera. That's the thing. This is a simple truck, and it's been a very good truck, and so far I'm very happy with it. However, with some of the things I've mentioned, I've been with it for almost 5 years, and with a lot of the changes my life has been through, I will admit, sometimes I kind of start to get the itch, and we all do. There are people that like to take a vehicle and have it for a couple of years and trade it in if they have some equity. Then there's people that like to go down the long haul. And even though my original plan was to go down the long haul, there are some changes that this truck could use that the fourth gen answers. Of course, being since it's so new and it doesn't have the green, I have my hesitations. But I think that pretty much covers everything. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything. I just want to take a moment to say, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, guys. I know you've been waiting on my update on the ownership of this truck for a long time. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please consider subscribing. It makes such a huge difference, and it helps people get exposed to different types of Toyota content. I'm always in the comments. So, you know, if you have opinions that you'd like to share, if you disagree with me on something and you want to discuss, I'm at it. So meet me in the comments, and thank you again. I'll see you in the next video, guys. This is Brian signing out. Peace.